Welcome back, everybody, to Superhero Stuff You Should Know. Once again, it's Ben. Once again, it is Andrew.
It is Andrew, everybody, and it is also Tim. Again.
We're back again.
Yes.
Yes, two-parter.
One of those
A
rare
week later.
times where we bring a guest again the week
Yes.
after.
Does this
Get
happen
ready.
often where you got a two-parter with the same guest?
Not too often, not back to back usually. Sometimes, a guest comes back, but that's like many months later, but not this often. So last time
good.
was
Yeah.
on Batman Returns, and now this time we're on Batman Forever.
Woo!
Right
This
on.
time you are Batmobile designer Tim Flattery, because this
Yeah.
time you got the opportunity to do the Batmobile. So we're definitely going to dive into that. And I know there's many stories and many different iterations for that, and we've kind of covered it a little bit from our end, but we haven't really gone into your side of it, obviously, because this is the first time that you're here talking about it. So let's do what we did before and just kind of go down what we already have in terms of slides for what we have. The original opening was going to have Arkham Asylum, and it was built with this miniature that we have pictures of, which I thought it was awesome. We love this Arkham Asylum that's in it. It does feel like the DNA of the Burton movies sort of finding its way into Schumacher in this one. So
Yeah, for
really
sure.
love that.
I didn't even notice. I didn't remember this artwork from John Eves, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's kind of rare to see the exterior, because we mainly remember, the gate and the interior, but the building, it's kind of rare to see these shots from Forever specifically before they did the stuff in Batman and Robin. And then we have this concept art that was, it seems like in this exhibit that it was part of, it was credited to the unmade Batman Unchained movie, but it's pretty much the same exact scene of Dr. Burton finding the guard that was deleted in the opening of Batman Forever. So we threw that in there as well.
Yeah, I can confirm that was for Batman Forever. Jim Carson did that, and while we were in pre-production.
Okay, so there we go.
Yeah.
So there's our confirmation on that. Yeah, I thought so. And then we have designs of the Batcave on here.
And by the way, this is Marty Klein. So we were talking a lot about his work on last week with Batman Returns, and again here he steps in on Batman Forever doing Batcave stuff again.
Now that does bring me to something that I had thought about, which is the fact that you became part of both Batman Returns and Batman Forever, and those are very different, creative teams, both in front of the camera and behind the camera. So go, I guess, share with us a little bit in terms of how that came apart. I mean, I understand you worked with Schumacher on movies in between Batman Returns and Batman Forever.
Yeah. So on Batman Returns, you're right. I mean, it was a completely different set of circumstances where Tim Burton was helming the movie, and then they wanted to do another one. Michael Keaton wasn't about to get that suit on again. He was miserable in that thing. And from what I hear, Tim told whatever stories he needed to tell through his lens.
Mm-hmm.
And so the studio, this is actually a funny story. The studio contacted Joel Schumacher about it, thinking, okay, well, let's take this in a different direction. And so I had done Falling Down with Joel Schumacher and Barbara Ling, which was just an amazing experience to get inside Joel's head for a movie like that. I don't know if you guys have seen it with Michael Douglas, but it's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
And then he was doing The Client and with Susan Sarandon, and he ran into an issue where he was trying to come up with a sequence, and he wasn't happy what was going on, and so he called up and he said, "Can you fly down here to Memphis?" I think it was Memphis. He said, "Just come down for a week and work out this suicide sequence with me. I want you to storyboard it, and that's it." And I said, "Sure." So I flew down there, and while we were in his office down there, he's describing stuff he wants, and I'm storyboarding. He gets the call from Warner Brothers while I was in his office, and he hung up the phone. he looked at me and he said, "They just offered me Batman," and I'm like, "What?"
Mm.
And he's like, "Yeah, they want me to do the new Batman." I'm like, "You got to do it." And he was like, "Yeah, I think I want to do it." And I was like, "That's
Wow.
awesome."
Wow.
So that's like the way back story. And so I worked on the client a little bit with him, and then I went and I think I did another movie before I got the call to come on. So he hired Barbara Ling again as his production designer.
Mhm.
And she called up and they just said, "Look, the studio wants to do like they want to redo everything, and including the Batmobile,
Mm.
and we want you to do the Batmobile." And then that's how it happened. So then I started in, and then the story goes on from there. We can get into that farther as we go into
Wow.
some of the rest of this artwork. But that's how that's how I came onto the film.
Awesome. Especially
That's
with
awesome.
the Batmobile, which we'll be talking about in a bit, because we only have
Yeah,
a few slides of the Batcave stuff before we get to Batmobile designs. So
yeah.
a little bit more of the cave. This looks like the cave beneath the cave since it has the Batwing in there.
These are really cool. I don't recognize those.
Hold on. Yeah, that one. I believe we
Those are
got that one
super cool.
from Daily Batman Anthology or Daily Schumacher on Twitter.
Oh, I recognize the signature. That's Sid Dutton's. So he
Oh,
did a lot of matte painting for
Mm.
Illusion, and he's a god, the matte painter. So they probably had him doing some concepts for it.
yeah. No, this looks great. And then now we get into the Batmobile, starting with the Giger stuff we've talked
Right.
about. The very those are the scissors that are on multiple wheels in terms
Yes.
of starting it off, and that kind of starts things. And then we get into some of these that are your designs, right?
Yeah. So it's funny that you showed the Giger stuff first because that actually came later. There was
Mm,
Oh, okay.
um, so do you want me to get into this part of the
please
story
do.
now?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So man, it gets ugly. Um,
we want to know even more now.
so okay, so we go from, hey, we get in here, we whatever. Okay, fine. So Joel's still on the client. He's
Mhm.
editing the client, and we're starting on pre-production for Batman. And they're laying it out, and he's definitely wants to take it in a different direction and make it more campy, like the TV show, and maybe it doesn't take itself so serious, and on and on. Okay. But when it came to the Batmobile, he was like, I'm not sure. He wasn't sure what he wanted. So I just had free reign. So, he said, I love the Bob Kane Batmobile and I love, the retro feel and on and on. And I said, well, why don't I do like some passes at different styles. We'll run the renderings by you. You can pick a direction and we'll develop them from there. And he said, that sounds good. So what you're seeing here, so I did the top one was kind of like a pushed version of what Bob Kane had done in his comic, and Joel did say, which is why you see the big fin on everyone. He said he loves the huge fin, and he knows that he wants
Okay.
that in there. And so I said, okay. And so the bottom one was sort of like a 60s retro feel to the turbine kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then I'd done a couple more, which was like so you'll see the lower right one was again paying homage to some of the 40s type styling and lines to what Ford was doing back then.
Mhm.
And also kind of like incorporating Bob Kane's flavor to it, and again with the big fin. And we just went to like, what if it was fully stealth, a hard faceted kind of idea. So these were all done just as marker sketches, like you've seen some of my marker sketches prior, and sat down with Joel and Barbara Ling, and he had picked these 5 different directions, and that's why you see models of them, because the next step was to make scale models of these so that he could see them in 3D, walk around them, get to feel them out. And so that's what we did. These are all clay, Chavant clay, all sculpted out of clay.
Wow.
And then we, prime them and paint them from there. So it was me and I don't know, probably, I think like 6 other guys that sat down and modeled these out. And we were on a pretty tight schedule because they wanted to get this movie out. They set a release date, and you back that up, and it only gave me, I don't know, 5 or 6 months to get all this done. And so I was kind of sweating it out. So we had the day where we were presenting the models to him. He came through and he looked at this stealth version, this hard faceted version. And
is the stealth one any of these that we showed or no?
So if you go back, the
blocky
faceted
one
on the top. No, go forward.
Yeah, it's like the B-2 bomber.
This one here, the bluish faceted one on the top.
Ah, okay.
I call it a stealth version because it's got hard facets to it, like a stealth fighter does. So anyway, and I mean that was my inspiration behind the design, was a stealth fighter and how it's faceted, hard edged and flat surfaces. So anyway, so he came through and we had all models together in the art department, and he picked this hard faceted version. That was going to be the next Batmobile. And he was looking at it saying, maybe if we just do this, this, and this to the back end, he wanted to change a couple things on the back end. And I said, yeah, we'll go in and change the model and bring it back in a week, and we can do final buy off. And he said, that sounds great. So we went back to the shop. I made the adjustments to the back end, repainted it. And then that meeting was going to be the final buy off. Well, the final buy off included all the studio executives, all the producers, me, Barbara Ling, pretty much everybody, behind the movie. It was a big deal. This was going to be the new Batmobile, and, obviously it's some merchandising, kind of gold mine and everything. There's a lot into it. So I brought the model in. We're all waiting. Joel was late. He comes in.
Uh-oh.
He comes into the room, and he comes in and he goes, he's looking right at me, and he said, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. He said, my head hasn't been in the movie. It's been on the client. As you know, I'm trying to finish up the client, but I've really been thinking about this Batmobile. And I'm like going, oh boy, here we go. And I've been giving it a lot of thought. Here we go. And he goes, I've been a bad director. I'm like, here it comes. He goes, I think it should be something different. Like, oh boy, here we go. I'm fucked.
Which design was it almost? Was it the faceted one?
Yes, it was this. This was the final.
Yeah.
So
this was gonna be it, huh? Okay.
This was gonna be it. The faceted one on the top. This meeting was just for the final buy off on this design.
Okay.
He had already approved this design, but then he got to thinking about it, and to his credit, he was right. But he got to thinking about it, and he was like, so he started it by saying, I've been a bad director. And I was like, God, I know I'm screwed now. and he just said, I think it should be something more organic, something like a more bat-like, and, like something Giger would design. And I mean, so you never tell a director no. That's the number one rule, right? And
yeah.
So I was like, well, we're 4 months out. I'm panicked. And he got it. I mean, basically I said, well, I don't know how, I'm not sure how I'm going to pull this off. We got to redesign a new design. We got to, maybe I can use the old chassis from the other Batmobile. That'll gain us some time. And he was like, are you telling me no? And I'm like, no, I'm not telling you no. And he was like, so what's the fucking problem then? And I'm like, well, you don't want to be that guy, but I was like, how am I going to get this done in 4.5 months? Build a whole working car, design it, and build a whole working car. And so it got really tense in the meeting. He ended the meeting pissed off at me. Everybody walked out, and I went back to my the art department in the room that I shared with a couple other guys, Jim Carson, Marty Klein, Brent Boats. There's 5 of us in there. And he came to the door, and he just stood in the door staring at me, seething at me, so mad. He was so mad at me. And I looked, and I'm like, what, Joel? What? And he goes, I don't know what your problem is. We've had such a good relationship on our last 2 movies, and now this, and like I was betraying him. And I said to him, let me sit down and figure it out, and we'll make it work. And he goes, well, then we don't have a problem, do we? I'm like, no, we don't have a problem. Fine. And he slammed the door, and he started off. Well, that same day, he called Giger, and that's why those first sketches that you should,
So that's how that came about.
So it wasn't all of a sudden, it was like, I'll show that fucking guy. And so he called Giger himself. And while I was working on my design, he didn't tell me that he contacted Giger. I didn't know that he contacted Giger. He just said he wanted something Giger-esque. So, I started going down that route, combining bats and Barbara Ling. Wanted maybe we do like their little wings that are wrapped around in a rib cage and try that. And so, those were the sketches that I was working on. Well, all the while, Joel calls Giger, and he sends him this. Now, while these are super cool designs, even Joel realized, how do I put this in the movie? Like, how does this fit? How does this fit in my movie? Because it doesn't. And so fast forward to, I had done a version of the final design that only had like a couple ribs in it. There's the bat boat. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I got the one with only
this
2.
one. Yeah. So this one, and I showed him this, and he was like, finally things had calmed down, and he was like, yeah, this is the direction I want. Maybe if we just do the ribs all the way across the body. And that's what I did the final sketch of that side view that you had in the first slide. That was the sketch that he bought off on. And then if you go to the next slide, it was that sketch that got me back into the clay model here. So you can see on the wall behind there, those are my marker sketches of the other designs.
Mm-hmm.
So we got into, this was in the shop, so we got into this, I think this was like 5th scale. And this was so important because Charlie Zurian, who's a guy that I've partnered with many times, like on Back to the Future and some other movies to build my vehicles that I design. Guy's a genius. We were both looking at this thing going, we don't have a clue how do you make this?
Mm-hmm.
How do you build this? And then there's a whole nother story with the studio involved, because there's a lot of politics that got involved with the construction of this as well, that I can tell you about if you want to hear about it later. But this was so crucial in the process because there wasn't digital technology back then. So it wasn't like I could do a digital model, trust it, and then cut all the tooling on a mill like we do now. Like literally this all had to be sculpted by hand tooled, hand molded, and then laid up. And either like most of it was done in carbon fiber, but there was a lot that was done in epoxy as well. So we were pushing super new materials for back then. Nobody had done a full car in carbon fiber before. But this model was the roadmap as to how we were going to build this car in full size. And so he just bought off on I never finished the model in regards to painting it like the other models were finished. This is as far as it got because I ran out of time and I went right to full size from there.
Jeez. Yeah.
I know that was long-winded, but there's a lot.
No.
So much.
No, it's
so
great.
much backstory to this Batmobile and the dynamics behind it and the crew that we put together to build it. It was like if it had to happen again, it never would. Like the fact that we pulled it off was no less than a miracle. Like it was a miracle that we actually finished it in time.
Was that the most steamed you'd ever seen Schumacher?
Joel was a passionate dude, man. And and I've seen him equally as mad on set. Him and Val did not get on well with each other. Or that's that's no secret. And I'd see him. I mean, look, the guy's a passionate artist. Sometimes passion leads to emotion, and we're all part of that. And certainly Joel was too. But he was pissed off at me, but and he held a grudge. Like he doesn't let up. He held a grudge the whole time. Like we got this thing done, and we did our first film test. It's on my website. It's the one with the flame shooting out of it, out the back. And he walked by me and on set, and Val Kilmer was there because we were doing publicity photos with it too. And Val came up and he goes, "That's the coolest fucking car I've ever seen. I can't believe it."
That must have felt good.
Who designed it? And Joel looks right at me and just said something to the effect of, "Well, we all did." And then he walked by me, and he said, "And you said you couldn't do it." And then he kept going. He was still mad. This was like,
I don't get it because you delivered. You delivered. The car was made. He got what he wanted.
But I in his mind, I told him no, and
he flustered him. He got flustered.
He was mad. And so, and I just didn't want to. When you say yes, that's it. There is no turning back, and I couldn't bring myself to say yes in that meeting because I didn't know what the design was going to be. I hadn't designed it yet. And if I knew it was going to be this, I would have said no. I would have been like, there's no way we can do that,
Just to go back real quick, out of these, do you have any favorites out of the unused ones?
Out of the unused ones. So if you go forward, the lower right, I loved the proportions of this car. I loved it was long and sexy. It's definitely not the Batmobile unless you're coming from Bob Kane's world, a futuristic Bob Kane's world, I guess is the best way to put it. But on the principles of design, the 5 principles of design, right? Like the dominance, the subdominance, the harmony, the rhythm, the balance, that car does it for me. But if you were to ask me out of these designs, what's my favorite Batmobile? The one we built for sure, because Joel was right. I mean, if one of these was in the movie, it'd be like, what is that? That's not a Batmobile. It's just a fucking futuristic car with a wing on it, So he was right. I mean, there's no question about it.
We actually do really love these originals. I'm not. You can go back in the backlog and know that we're not just saying it because you're here. We actually do really like a lot of these because of that retro feel that you were going for. Like I when I saw the fin, I've brought up in many episodes. I'm like, that's 1940s Batmobile. That's Bob Kane. So I can see what you're doing there, and to an extent, I can see that the movie changes when it's this type of thing. But also in a way, I'm like, you know what? It already does have the feel of the 1940s Batman comics modernized to the 90s. So I do kind of wonder, what if, on a lot of these, what if we got to see this version instead when we take a look at these? I think Andrew and I have both said that we would have loved to have gotten toys of these, growing up.
I love the stealth one especially, Tim. I think I would have loved to have gotten that toy in particular. It might not fit the whole overall aesthetic of the movie as much as the other one, but yeah, I mean, I could see why this was like in second place, but it is definitely not organic at all. But
because you
I
didn't
don't
know
know.
that was the direction. Yeah.
I like the simple design though. It's very
Mhm.
it's very simple and clean.
Mhm.
It would have been a hell of a lot easier to build. That's for sure.
We can imagine.
Yeah.
It's really good to hear you guys say that because I've never been validated on these designs like you've just done here. The fact that you said you recognize where my inspiration came from, which was Bob Kane retro, in my designs just makes me feel like, okay, fuck, I did it, you know,
You did.
because I
Yeah.
hadn't heard that before, and that was the whole drive of all 5 of those designs was a variation on homage to Bob Kane and what he did in the comics.
Yeah, that's absolutely what this is. What the feel of the movie I think was intended in many times, and that's what I see when I see these in particular. And then it kind of gets meshed with the Giger-esque like ribcage stuff. But when I look here, I'm like, oh, that's even more retro. That's even more of
Yeah.
that '40s type of stuff. You wouldn't still
Mhm.
happen to have these models, would you, Tim?
No. God, you know what,
Because we'd
Ben?
love these.
That's a good question. I should I think Warner Brothers ended up with them because they weren't even, when we ended up building the final design, these models weren't even in the shop anymore. I think they moved over to Warner Brothers archives.
If NECA, the toy company,
Mhm.
or some other like Storm Collectibles or whatever, McFarlane, thinks that they can't make money off of these designs, they're wrong. This is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whole like unused Batmobile line of
Yeah.
toys, kind of high end, probably
Mhm.
more like toys for adults kind of thing.
Right.
Like what's pretty much NECA is, and a lot of them are these days. I mean, it would sell, man. I really think it would sell. It'd be so cool.
We'd get them, have them in the
Yeah.
background of our
I
show.
would too.
Yes.
I think I agree with you. Like again, it's a licensing issue with Warner Brothers, which is funny because my name is still on the patent of my Batmobile. I've got it hanging on my wall.
Oh, nice.
And the Batboat. I have 3 patents from this movie: the wing mechanism, how it splits,
Mhm.
Oh,
the
wow.
Batboat, and the Batmobile. I've got the patent plaques here. So my name's still on the patent as the inventor of the Batmobile, but Warner Brothers, there was a whole day where I had to go in, and me, Warner Brothers representatives, and then DC representatives were all in this office, and there were
Mhm.
the stacks of paper lined up on a table where I had to sign over the rights as the designer to Warner Brothers, and then Warner Brothers had to sign over the rights to DC because they own Batman, right? So even though I'll forever have my name on the patent, I do not own the rights. DC does
Right.
to my
Yeah.
to my design,
All right.
Right.
Well,
which is interesting. So they would have to, whoever wanted
Jeez.
to make a toy out of this would have to go through the DC
The DC.
licensing process. Yeah.
That's okay. After this recording, we'll plan a heist to the WB vault and get this and some of the footage
Good
from the
idea.
movie
Yeah.
that didn't make it in. So there we
Good
go.
idea.
And then you mentioned some of the studio politics when it came to the Batmobile, the building itself, the design itself. Like, what did you mean by that?
Yeah,
You said there was another story to that.
This whole movie was one nail biter after another from the very start, which was the timeline to then Joel
Mhm.
changing his mind to then, all right, now it's time. Okay, so now we have this design,
Mhm.
and now it's time to build it. And I'm in the shop with Charlie, in which they formed TFX. And so what the story is here is, there's a publicity shot, is Charlie was a full-time employee at General Motors Advanced Concept Center. He would, he built show cars and concept cars. And I had used them on Back to the Future and a few other things. And he moonlighted those movies for me
Oh,
while
wow.
maintaining his job at GM.
Hmm.
So I called him up and I said, look, I'm designing the new Batmobile. Do you want to build it? And he was like, I don't know, does a frog have a watertight ass? Hell yeah. And I said, there's one catch. Like, you're not going to do this one moonlighting. Like we got to set up a shop, and it's got to be full time because of the schedule and everything else. And so he made he made a huge commitment, to quit GM and
Wow.
do this.
Oh man.
So the head of the studio, his name was at the time, the head of production, I should say, his name was Bill Young, and he was this typical back in the day studio exec, smoked a cigar, and kind of a big, he had a
one earring. Did he have the one earring?
No, he didn't have the earring. That was
Okay.
Like Chris
that
O'Donnell.
that was later on Spider-Man 2. That's a whole nother. That guy had an earring. Anyway, no, he was old school
Okay.
studio exec. So smoked a cigar, kind of a husky guy, wore a crusty suit and tie, and big office and all that stuff. So it had come down to the point where it was time to start building this thing, and Tommy Fisher was the physical effects guy on the film. And generally, those guys like they'll build a lot of the stuff, right? And those effects guys, they want the whole movie. They want to do it all, and for good reason. They're good at what they do and all this. But Tommy was a blunt instrument, basically, right? Like I needed. Well, look at this design. Like to sculpt this right and to figure out the tooling properly, to use the right materials, I needed somebody ahead of their time to do it, and it was Charlie Zurian by light years, right? And so I started bidding this with Charlie, and the studio got involved, and they're like, we want Tommy Fisher to build it. And I was like, Tommy, there's no fucking way. Tommy can't build this thing. He's not capable.
Wow.
So it turned into, come to my office, kid, and
Jesus.
Cigar in his mouth.
Exactly. So
Bob Kane's best friend.
So it came down to this meeting. God, like double down from like the threat of Joel to then the head of the studio. I go in there and I sit. It was just like right out of a movie. I sit on his couch and it kind of like sank way down, as I sat in it, facing the studio exec, and he's like, "What's this I hear about? Yeah, your Batmobile and Tommy Fisher, blah blah blah. Tommy, do you know what Tommy Fisher's done in his lifetime more than you've ever fucking? You were just a squirt in your daddy's knickers before you ever even heard of Tommy Fisher. You blah blah blah.
I want to meet this guy.
All this stuff, and I mean, that's intimidating. You got it right.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, Mr. Young. I know I'm young, look at me. I'm 24, 25 at the time. I said, I understand and I am well aware of Tommy Fisher, and he has all my respect, but you've seen this design, and only a true concept car builder can pull this off. Otherwise, it's going to look like shit and it's not going to run. And he's like, no fucking way. And we were in there for 2 hours arguing. Like, I wasn't going to let up. I wasn't going to let up.
Oh, wow.
And to the point where, like, he wasn't threatening me, but then at the end, he threatened me. So long story short, we said, all right, kid. All right. I'll make you a deal then. Because there's no way Tommy Fisher isn't going to be overseeing this thing. Who the fuck are you to tell me, blah, blah, blah. He said, the only way this is going to work is if Tommy Fisher builds that chassis. It's all under one roof. You put these guys under one roof and they build it together. And I was like, deal. Charlie Zurian builds the body and makes it work. Tommy Fisher builds the chassis. Yes. Okay, deal. He goes, otherwise, this is your Batmobile, kid. If it doesn't work, and he did this to me, which was basically... If this doesn't, if you don't pull this off, you want your guy, you want your Charlie Zurian. If you don't pull this off, that's it for you, pal, kind of thing.
Jesus.
And I just said,
God.
I'll take it. So I called up Charlie. I'm like, look, we can't fuck this one up, man. I just made a deal with the devil.
Oh my God, man. Satan himself in Hollywood.
Yeah, and he's a good dude, and I mean, Bill Young. I mean, obviously he understood the stakes, and he's got to go with the guy he trusts, and Tommy Fisher it pulls through every time. I mean, the guy's made a bazillion movies, and his son now is taken over where he left off, and those guys they're amazing. So we put the worst thing you can do is put hardcore physical effects guys in a shop full of a bunch of gypsy car builders. They're just not going to get on together. And and Tommy was already fucking pissed off that like I made this deal and he wasn't going to just be building the car from the ground up. So there was tension all the way through, and we were working 24 hours a day in the shop. And these guys, I don't know if you've seen the documentary about this stuff, but you'll see footage of we were like riding go-karts in the shop and making other like solo wheels and putting mini bike motors on them and like doing all, because you put a bunch of tinkers under one roof and we're going to tinker, and it drove Tommy fucking crazy. So anyway, so fast forward to he built the chassis. He was a blunt instrument, and he built it out of 2x6 steel stock, square stock. It wasn't even a tube frame. And we put a ZZ3 crate motor in it, which was good. And then he didn't even put suspension in it to start. So
weird.
It was, and I kept saying to him, and he's like, "I know better than you, kid. How many movies you've done, how many movies I've done." And I'm like, "Tommy, the car's got to have suspension." So sure enough, we took it to Mojave Airport to test drive it for the first time down the runway. And the stunt driver, he's looking over the car, and he comes up to me. He's in his fire suit, and he's like, "Tim, why doesn't this car have suspension?" That's the first thing he asked. He's like, I can do about a quarter of the things I need to do in this car if it doesn't have suspension. And I'm like, ask Tommy, And sure enough, it would just bounce all over the fucking place. And the wing, 16 feet of wing back there, and it's just flopping all over, even though it was honeycomb and carbon fiber. And it was a mess. And so they got the first shot, and it was bouncing all over the place. And they're like, "What the fuck is the matter with this car?" And they're all blaming me. And I'm like, "It doesn't have suspension. Ask Tommy." And so sure enough, so finally, at that point, we'd proven ourselves with the rest of the car. And I just said, "Hand me the chassis, and we'll fix it." And we did. We put the suspension in it and made the rest of the movie with it that way. But holy shit, man!
Jesus Christ.
We built that car in just over 3 months.
Crazy.
I mean, we did see the documentary, but a lot of this that you've mentioned obviously is not in there and stuff. So this does paint even more of a picture of like just how under the gun a lot of you were when it comes to this.
It was insane. It was like, I mean, literally, I've been in tough spots on a lot of movies. Nothing compares to this one. This was literally like I thought, well, that's it. I'll go bag groceries after this because I'm fucked.
Is this why when they're like Batman and Robin's coming, and they're just like, nope. At that point,
yeah.
Well, they So sure enough, we got lucky on this one. It was a bad movie, but it did well in the box office. So what do? You make another one. And Joel called up, and he said just that. He goes, we got lucky on that last one, but we're going to do another one. We want to do another Batmobile. You're ready to go. And this is when I was on. I was just offered Jingle All the Way, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that again, man. And I turned it down.
You made the right choice.
I recommended Harold Belker, who was a friend of mine at the time, and he did the next Batmobile.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I mean, it is. I had wondered too when you brought up how Joel had that resentment towards you because it seemed like you had the audacity to be like, maybe that's not such a good idea. And now, but I wasn't sure if that led to the reason why you were on Batman and Robin. But it looks like he was gracious enough to offer it to you, even though it sounded like it was going to be hell in order to get on that one. Because I know that one was a similar thing of tight schedule, need to make it to this 1997 date, that type of stuff.
Yeah, he what we did worked. I mean, Joel is a professional, even though and yeah, like those kinds of things you just push aside.
Mhm.
And so the call did come, right? And I really didn't want to do it. And there's two main reasons. One was I did it already.
Mhm.
And two was like I don't want to go through that hell again, because part of me was like, just I didn't want to go through the experience again, but the other part of me was like, if I'm faced with this again, I won't pull it off twice.
Mm.
Harold had more time than I did, and what he had was what I told the studio. I did leave with this. I said, the next time you have Charlie do it from the ground up and you take effects out of it, and that's exactly what they did. And so they built that chassis. It was beautiful, man. That chassis of Harold's car was a piece of art, tube frame, just absolutely gorgeous. Charlie had some of the best chassis builders in the business doing it, and so that car through and through was a piece of art, from its mechanics to its final design to its final execution. So Charlie stayed on. Obviously, they just kept the shop was basically, it was an abandoned warehouse by the Burbank airport. That's where we set up, and he just continued on. He went back to back from this movie to then Batman and Robin. He stayed in the same space, built that Batmobile, and then the other, like the Freeze Mobile. They did all the vehicles for the movie.
Yeah.
Did Schumacher not? How did he feel about Batman Forever in general? He didn't think it was that great ultimately, or
I think that well, let me just answer it this way. It's very telling that when we met up about Batman and Robin, that he said we got lucky on the first one.
Right. That's what I
It's very telling that. I mean, I'm not going to say that he laid an egg, but it's not a good movie. I mean, it's fun to watch with a box of popcorn, and so I can appreciate that. But if you're truly a fan of what Bob Kane developed, well, what those guys, I should say, developed as a character, I mean, this is a vigilante who was a detective. That other movies, I think, capitalize on that character better than the Schumacher movies do. Even though I appreciate him trying to bring the camp back into it, which was fun,
Right.
So I mean, listen, I could turn that movie on and watch it again and enjoy it, but I don't get submersed in it the way I do in, like, The Dark Knight, or films like that, or even the latest Batman.
I understand.
Where there's a depth to the character development there that just you got me. I'm sunk in.
It seemed like there was some attempt at depth anyway with all the scenes that were cut out, though, with the big bat and everything.
Yeah.
Was that his decision or no?
I don't know. I
cut that out.
that. I'm not sure. About that. Because knowing Joel, like, this is the guy that made Falling Down. Like, the guy's dark. He really is. Right. And he's capable of telling a dark story. But I think between what direction the studio was thinking they wanted to go, and Joel wanting to go down that road with them, that combined, it turned into, and then also just writing in the Riddler and Two-Face and stuff like that. Like, this is the direction it took.
Did he get the job mainly because of Falling Down? The studio was like, "Oh, this director is going to be our next Batman guy."
No, I think they called him because he's under contract with Warner Brothers. He's done a lot of films with them, and the guy was just a solid storyteller and director and artist who's capable of a lot of different genre.
Yeah.
And I guess for lack of a better term, I chalk it up to Warner Brothers considering him their go-to guy. Just knowing that they could trust a really super important franchise to him because they know that he's more than capable. Like he's a super talented director, you know.
For sure.
So that's why I don't. It wasn't specific. My opinion is it wasn't specifically because of Falling Down. I mean, Falling Down wasn't a huge box office success. Neither was The Client. I think they both did okay, but it was the fact that he continually showed up, you know, for the studio successfully and was more than competent. I mean, the dude was talented.
There's probably an element of making the studio happy, considering that they probably weren't super happy with the, you know, so the more adult content that was in Batman Returns, which is kind of what led to this, you know, more kid-friendly direction.
I'd agree with that.
Schumacher was like, I like Adam West a lot, so sure.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, you want to listen, when you as you guys know, I mean, making a movie is literally one of the riskiest investments you can make. So the return on your investment is nail biting. And so they, you know, marketing and all that, when they put together a budget of what they're willing to spend on a movie, it's well thought out on what the return's going to be on it. And especially if it's rated PG to PG-13, let alone R, because you're cutting your audiences down. And so, of course, the studio knows that they've got a franchise that can cater to a much, much bigger audience, meaning, you know, the kids and stuff like that. And so what do you do to, you know, to change that? And I think that was part of the direction here as well.
It's definitely the more McDonald's friendly between the two that you worked on.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, bottom line is I'm super thankful for doing the movie, even though it was hell. I'm like super thankful for Joel. I'm really thankful for Barbara Ling. I'm thankful for Bill Young for like finally, even after that horrible meeting, giving me the chance to, you know, I wasn't proven to like Joel was. I mean, I wasn't a proven dynamo like Tommy Fisher, and I'm thankful that we made the deal that we made, and I went and made the car that I had to make with the people I trusted, you know.
For sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it paid off, I think. And so we have a few more of the concept art of that Batmobile and stuff, and I understand from the documentary you had a chance to drive it, and it didn't exactly come out in one piece after that.
Yeah. So I was actually the first person to test drive it before the stunt driver, which was just right outside the shop. And then after the whole suspension issue that I was telling you, once we got the suspension in, the car was due to shoot in 2 days after that.
Oh my God.
And so I took it. You saw a little bit. You saw the documentary. So you saw a little bit of me in the cockpit of the car. You know, and then driving back. Okay, so that was right in front of the shop, and it was in this industrial park. And if you see on the other side of the car, there's this chain link fence back there separating us from a bunch of property with a bunch of you know, barbed wire, curly wire on top of the chain link fence, and just this gnarly fence that was out there. And so the idea was, so we built 2 cars. I don't know if you know this or not. One was the hero car for all the beauty shots, and then we built a stunt car. We built a second one that had separate rear and front brakes so that you could spin it, do 180s in it. So we put suspension in both cars, and we took the stunt car out because that was the one that was going to get shot in 2 days to test the suspension. And so I just took it. We took it out in front of the shop. You saw all the guys out there. Those were all the guys that built the car, the mechanics, the body guys, everybody. And I said, look, I'm gonna go down. The reason we were videoing it is because we're going to send it back to the studio to show them that the suspension's working and the wing wasn't going to wiggle. So I said, I'm going to go down. I'm going to come back up as fast as I can. Then I'm going to go down and I'm going to do a 180 and spin it around. And then let me know when you got it all. I'll be facing at that time, and we'll put it back in the shop, and I'll take the footage over to the studio right away. Okay, great. Mm-hmm. So I go down and come back up, and I go down the street and I stomp on the front brakes, I believe it was, to spin it around. And I got about halfway around, and all of a sudden I just hear this, and and the car's like jerking and abruptly stops. And I had driven it enough at that point that I had a pretty good feel for the car, and I didn't know what the hell happened. I'm like, did I just drop the motor? Did I lose the rear end? Like, did the whole rear end just like blow out of the chassis? Those are the first things. And I look out the windshield, which your visibility is pretty tight in there. Mm-hmm. And half the guys have their face in their hands, shaking their heads.
Oh no.
And so I pop the canopy and I stand up and I look. Nothing's wrong in front, and I look behind me. And I wadded up that fucking 16-foot wing in that chain link fence and chewed off about 2.5, 3 feet of it.
Oh my God.
And this thing was out of carbon fiber. Completely destroyed this wing. And so, like I said in the documentary, I wasn't everybody's favorite person in the shop that day. They wanted to kill me because there's one, these guys are gearheads, and it's one, there's always that thing about, here comes the designer, the blah, blah, he's going to tell us what right. And, oh yeah, the designer's got to test drive it for blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, I wadded it up, and they're all like, you motherfucker. So literally, the car shoots in 2 days. There's no way I'm calling up production going, yeah, we got a problem. Car's not going to be ready. Like, that doesn't happen. So we got the car back in the shop, removed the wings off the top of the car, put them back in the molds, relayed up the last 4 feet of it. Again, this is honeycomb and carbon fiber, and then also an epoxy inlay on the inside. So it's a huge process. Mm-hmm. Normally that would take two days just to bag and bake it all, and then have to paint it. So they did it in record time. We feathered it all in, repainted it, and had it ready for camera on time 2 daes later. It was insane. Jesus. I think I ended that movie with everybody hating me.
Fortunately, it sounds like it.
Everybody in the shop, I say that, but these are the guys that went on, and we did, the Fantastic Car together. We did Mission Mars together. These guys built fucking shitloads of vehicles that I've designed for me. So it was, they forgave you. They got over it.
I'd hope so.
That's great.
Nice. All right. Well, with that on the Batmobile, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll go over the rest of the movie.
Just wanted to announce that I have a new podcast called Gaming Gaiden. It's about retro gaming. It's a lot about Japanese to English translation. In this first season, it will be 10 episodes each season. First season will be dropping soon, much sooner than I'm on a Recon. The co-host for this one will be Mike Torres. If you saw the ranking every Superman video game two-parter we did here on Superhero Stuff You Should Know, you have seen Mike before. So yes, if you like video games, if you've been interested in Japanese ever, we're going to be talking a lot about just Japan in general, Japanese cultural differences as well. And we also are going to have a lot of talk about 90s video game magazines such as Electronic Gaming Monthly, aka EGM, so stay tuned for that. So please be on the lookout for Gaming Gaiden podcast coming soon.
Class is back in session, and HyperX has the grade A gear you need for dorm life, remote classes, and for schoolin' folks online. Shop the HyperX back to school deals going on now at hyperx.com to help make your return to student life a breeze. Comfortable cloud headsets can keep you focused in as you cram for finals with some lo-fi beats, and stay productive with lightweight pulse-fire mice, responsive alloy keyboards, and more. Keep your GPA and your KDA high with HyperX products and accessories.
Hi, it's me, Jeremy Parrish, co-host of the Retronauts podcast, the only video game history podcast that's been around so long, it's also a part of video game history. Every week, one of the motley rabble who host this show leads a deep dive into the past, whether it's to break down a classic franchise, learn more about a timeless game from its creator, or just wallow in nostalgia. Relive history with Retronauts, here on the HyperX Podcast Network.
Do you like the TV show Friends? Then check out Watching Friends with me, Mark,
and me, Ryan,
every week as we go through every episode of this iconic TV show, giving you behind-the-scenes facts, our thoughts on every scene, and some personal stories.
Do you know which actor can't remember how many seasons of the show there are? How about the one common household object that could never be seen on the show? We've got the answers and more as we explore Friends in depth every week.
Watching Friends, only on the HyperX Podcast Network.
Fight inflation the old-fashioned way, by spending less money. Check out the HyperX store at Amazon.com to find great Prime Day deals on July 12th and 13th. Stock up on new gaming gear so you'll be equipped for the new launches and content drops. Mark your calendars and set your alarms. Deals like this won't stick around long.
Class is back in session, and HyperX has the grade A gear you need for dorm life, remote classes, and for schooling folks online.
Shop the HyperX back-to-school deals going on at hyperx.com to help make your return to student life a breeze.
Comfortable cloud headsets can help keep you focused in as you cram for finals with some lo-fi beats and stay productive with lightweight pulse-fire mics, responsive alloy keyboards, and more.
Keep your GPA and your KDA high with HyperX products and accessories.
Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming.
It's back to school time. We want to make sure you pack the essentials to have the best gear yet. The Manscaped 4th Generation Performance Package is just that.
Be ready for whatever it is in your daily schedule this year.
It's the perfect package for your package and includes the brand new Lawnmower 4.0.
Fellas, go for the valedictorian of ball trimming and join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com with the code Johnson's Ballsack. Yes, that's a real code.
100% real.
Yes. So this is apparently the part in the ad read where I tell you about hurting my balls while trimming below the waist. The thing is, I haven't, because I've never hurt my balls through it while using Manscaped. Me, personally. That's not to say that you can't. I'm just saying that I haven't myself. So thanks to Manscaped, I don't have a story to share on that.
Yeah, I one time shaved my sack without Manscaped, and it didn't end up well. Actually, my roommate had to clean up the mess because I was in college and forgot about it. But anyway, that's a side. I was young once.
You lead with that.
I was young once. But yes, you want to keep in the bush to keep in your underoos. Keep your package in the underoos. All right, you gotta
Indeed.
have it looking good down there. You know what I'm saying? And seem big.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yes. School is back, and the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped is here to teach the boys a lesson on male hygiene. Inside, you'll find a Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, plus 2 free gifts, Performance Boxer Briefs, and the Shed Travel Bag.
This package includes the brand new Lawnmower 4.0 and will give you the confidence to do anything you desire, including showing off your dick. New year, new you. Might screw around and attend Smooth Balls University this fall. Wait, is that a thing?
This 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It also allows you to shave your pencil down and customize your trim through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 to 4. As you guys can probably tell, we did not write this.
These are the most fun ads, though, dude.
Yeah.
All right, so the Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 7,000 RPM motor and a new multifunction on-off switch that can engage a travel lock and gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. So if you're needing to shave your balls in the dark, they got you in the Batcave, always on brand. Please use the LED spotlight. And did I mention it's waterproof as well? So if you want to shave in the dark, underwater,
In Atlantis.
if your Batcave is also in Atlantis,
Double power.
there you go. I mean, they got you covered. What can I say?
Indeed. That's what Aquaman 2 is about. So this package also
I'm going to say legally it's not that, but
yes, okay.
that was commentary.
Yes. This package also comes with a weed whacker to chop your worst weeds up top in both your nose and your ear. The weed whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provide proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nick, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes.
After trimming your pubes and cleaning your holes, show them some love with the Manscaped liquid formulations. The Crop Preserver, Ball Deodorant, and Crop Reviver, Ball Toner are here to get you ready for class during the day and ready to party at night. And again, when you party at night, you could at night be shaving your balls just fine because it has a light on it. And also, I did have a friend, speaking of ball deodorant, I had a friend one time that's going to remain nameless that did spray cologne on his dick, and it hurt. It was a bad idea, he said. So you don't want to do that. You need deodorant especially made for your balls.
Indeed.
And that's where they're here for, guys.
Manscaped also threw in 2 free gifts to the Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. One is a comfy front pack for your balls, and the other is a backpack for your goods.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Johnson's Ball Sack. And I'm telling you, it's real. We've had a lot of people talk about this, asking, and it's 100% real. We wouldn't be doing these actual official ads if it wasn't real. So yeah, 20% off plus free shipping with the code Johnson's Ball Sack at manscaped.com. Take the last line, Ben.
This year, graduate with a degree in clean balls from Manscaped. And welcome back, and we're going to go take Tim through a blast from the past through all the different concept art that we have from the movie, starting with this Two-Face design, one side significantly bigger than the other, but I think that's just a style choice for the concept art.
I don't remember the sketch, but that's a really cool sketch.
Yeah. And then we've got some, I guess, Alcatraz being something looking like Alcatraz turned into Claw Island and for the CG. Now we got the giant bat stuff. I don't know if you were ever involved with the giant bat.
No, I remember some of this footage though being screened, and that's all I can add to it.
Do you remember the general reaction to it? Because I'm sure there's we love the scene, but I'm sure for the first time, for people who aren't used to like a metaphysical type of presence in the movie, they're like, wait a minute, what?
I know.
When it comes up.
No, I don't. I don't remember the reaction to it. The only thing it does is give me hives about the Batmobile, because I was shown so much footage of bats and their anatomy and everything else in regards to like the inspiration for the car. Anytime I see a bat now, I break out in hives.
Oh man.
No, sorry, it's a sidetrack, but no, I don't remember any of the reaction to it or any of the concept behind the metaphysical stuff of it. No.
All good.
Yeah.
We got some stuff for Gotham City as well. We had a very different Gotham City this time around on it, but still beautiful. Still a great Gotham.
This is Matt Codd's work, and holy shit, that guy could draw. Nobody knows and draws architecture like Matt Codd. Like, look at this stuff. Can you imagine putting that together?
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's fantastic. Bit of Chase Meridian's costume.
Yeah.
Wayne Enterprises. Some sketches of Wayne Enterprises, but then, of course, these beautiful takes on Wayne Enterprises during the day and at night.
Yeah. I did the first iteration, actually, in between Batmobile sketches of the Wayne Enterprises. I did a huge painting of the two colored paintings that you showed there. I don't know what happened to them. Yeah, this one.
So you did earlier versions than this?
Earlier versions of this that were basically this, minus the giant sculptures behind Wayne Enterprises.
It's still with the waterfall.
Yep. So the concept
this is my favorite Wayne Tower in live action.
It's really cool. Me too. Yeah, there was some good design in this movie for there's Jim Carson stuff. Yeah, he did all the Riddler stuff.
Yeah, with the box and stuff. So all the different headgear that we have here, more of the circus and Gotham City type stuff. Marty Klein again.
Badass.
We've got Two-Face's lair over here. And then another one from Carlos with the Riddler with the purple hair. That's in like one of the earlier drafts on the Riddler.
Man.
More Riddler stuff.
Jesus.
Yeah, we got the Two-Face thug on the right from Carlos, I believe. So
yeah, these guys, man, they can draw.
It's great just looking at all this. Let's see more Riddler stuff that we have here. The different props, the Claw Island.
This one here, so the on-camera prop of that card with the ping pong ball going back and forth. Jim Carson, he not only draws and designs really well like this, but he built that prop.
Oh wow!
Like he ended up building a lot of the stuff that he designed. Oh yeah. He would figure out. He'd figure out all the mechanics, and then he'd put together, like on Wild Wild West. He designed the giant spider for Loveless.
Oh wow, John Peters' favorite guy.
Yeah,
right. And Jim Carson, he literally built a mechanized leg that actually went to show how it would walk. I mean, the guy, he's incredible.
Incredible. I'd love some sort of prop like this. Just sitting in the office.
Me too. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because that's the kind of talent that's working on these things. Yeah, and then he would draw this shit, right? It's amazing.
Enigma Tech Party.
Awesome.
Oh, Mauro Borelli. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are all great. The cave beneath the cave.
Yeah.
Very beautiful here. And then more of Carlos's designs for Robin.
Oh yeah, that's the one on the left is a real famous sketch that he did.
Another one.
Oh, I don't recognize that. Oh, that's Matt Codd. So yeah, he designed the Batplane, which we built as a miniature. Charlie built it as well. TFX.
Oh wow,
gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
built the miniature.
A little bit of both the Batmobile and the Batwing here, different vehicles, and then the matte painting, I believe, of when the boat comes out.
Oh man, I should tell you a story about that bat boat.
Please do.
Really? You want to?
Yeah.
So we designed the bat boat, and I hired a guy that up in Oregon who built riverboats, and he built these beautiful aluminum riverboats that, like, he was perfect for this thing. So we brought him down, showed him my sketch, which you guys had shown earlier, and just said, and showed him the Batmobile and all that stuff, and just said, can you pull this off in aluminum as a boat that can actually function and run? And he said, well, it just depends. He said, yeah, I can build it, but it's basically just going to go in a straight line. There's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do with it because the design's so funky, and the beam's got to be narrow. And we said, and according to the script, it was going to jump out of this tunnel, but everyone was saying, yeah, we're going to do that in a miniature. So I said, I'm sorry, you have to be there because this involves Tommy Fisher again. So we got to go into Tommy Fisher. So fast forward, this guy, a couple trips up to Oregon, he builds the whole of the boat, and most of it, and then Charlie built the ribbing for it and all that, right? So it's a functioning boat. It's a jet drive boat, so it doesn't have a propeller. And and he delivers it. It's good to go. So we get the crew call. We're going to shoot the bat boat. It's out on the Castaic Lake, out in California. It's a night shoot, and it just talks about it doing kind of a serpentine, thing across the water. Okay, fine. So I get there, and there's this dock off the lake with this big metal ramp attached to it, shaped in a V. And Tommy Fisher's guys are out there with paint rollers, rolling grease on it. And I walk on the dock, and I'm like, "What's going on here? What is this thing? Why is there a ramp attached to this dock? And why is it being greased up?"
Mm-hmm.
"Well, we're going to jump the boat." I'm like, "You're going to say again? What?" "Yeah, we're going to jump the boat. We got a camera here. We got 3 cameras on it. We're jumping the boat." I was like, that boat's not designed to jump anything. That boat's designed to go basically in a straight line and take a couple turns. "Oh, no. We got the best stunt guy around. His name was Diamond Phillips or something." And I was like, "Listen, you guys can't jump that boat. It's not safe." It wasn't, and Tommy Fisher's like, "We can jump anything. I can put enough power behind the thing. You can do the welds, the hole, blah, blah, blah. We can jump it. We got enough grease on this thing. Throw a bowling ball up and it'll go 40 yards.
That producer comes back. He's like, "Are you doubting Tommy Fisher again?"
Exactly. And guess what? I shouldn't have, because a little grease and a little inertia, he's right. You fucking launch anything. It doesn't matter. So I'm like, "Well, how are you proposing to do this?" And they're like, "Well, he's just going to back up, so far, accelerate and go off the ramp, and he's just going to go, 20 yards, just enough we just need to get the boat in the air, and then we'll cut to the miniature." Okay. So Diamond comes out of his trailer, and if I remember correctly, he had a girl on each arm as he was walking down to
Of course.
camera.
What? Really?
Yeah. He
Wow.
was like, typical stuntman, super dude, and this guy has driven every boat that's ever been made, and he's going to jump the bat boat. So they got safety in the water. It's two boats with full fire extinguishers and all that, because I'm like, look, we've got 2 propane tanks on this thing to fire off the flame on it, right? So it's like you're launching a floating bomb, and we've done this all, we know we're doing it.
Oh,
So he comes down, and I'm like, "Diamond, you're good with this? You're good with jumping this boat?" And he was like, "Yeah, I can make it work." I'm like, "It's only got whatever it was. I think it was like a 6-foot beam. It was really narrow. So you're not worried about the beam? I mean, it's got this huge wing coming off of it. I mean, it's not aerodynamic." He goes, No. He goes, "I've jumped worse." You got to trust the stuntmen. They know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets in the boat, and I mean, this thing's got like 400 horsepower. This guy put a ridiculous jet drive in it. He didn't need to, And we put these little metal tabs on each end of the back end to make rooster tails come out of this thing. So he gets going on it, and he starts going down. We got it all lit. He's kind of doing the serpentine thing and getting a feel for it. He comes around in a loop, and when he drives by the ramp, and then he comes around again. He drives by the ramp, and he gets on the radio, and he's like, "Okay, I'm ready to go." "All right, ready. Everybody's ready. Roll camera." And he comes around, and I'm like thinking to myself, "This is medieval. What's going on in here? Like, this is how we do." Sure enough, man, I remember it like it was yesterday. He took that. He didn't stop here and accelerate. He came around in a circle and approached the ramp this way and launched the boat. And it was like in slow motion. I mean, this thing went 40 yards. And
Jeez.
it started just to like barely kind of turn over like this, but it landed, and it landed pretty good. Like, I would think.
Pulled it off.
And I was like, oh my God, thank God he did it. And they were like, you know, maybe we need to get another one. And I was like, no, you don't need another one. You got it. Like, no, you got to get another one. You need the backup. Check the gate. Let's go again. And he came up to the dock, and I'm like, really, you're going to go? He said, oh yeah, no, I got it. No problem. And he did the same thing. They greased up that ramp again, you know, with the paint rollers. He came around, but this time he came around faster. And he launched this thing, and he was in the air too long. And sure enough, the nose, like it started to dive in, and he landed on the nose. And not only did he land on the nose, but he hit the fin first, because it went off to the side. I thought, this is it. He's done. It hit the fin, and then it bounced, and then went on the nose down into the water. And you could see him kind of come out of the cockpit. He had shin guards and all that stuff on, so you knew that was hitting the dashboard. Kind of came out of the cockpit and then bounced back, and the boat like kind of bounced in the water like this when it landed. And he stood up, and sure enough, all of a sudden, a poof of flame came out of one of the propane tanks, and all of a sudden there was a flame going on. And to this guy's credit, because if I'm sitting out there in the middle of a lake and a propane tank ignites next to me, I'm jumping overboard.
Yeah.
And he's standing there, and you could hear him, and he just looked up as calm as could be, and he's fire suppression, and the boat came in, and they put it out real quick, and that was it. So they ended up using the first shot in the movie, and you can see it's not like the boat's not flying perfect, and then they cut to another shot of him just, you know, going along in the lake. But anyway, we jumped a bat boat that wasn't designed to jump. And I mean, respect to the stuntmen and Tommy Fisher.
Seriously.
Because like they made it work. It was crazy. Anyway,
we're never going to see that shot in the same way again now. It's
awesome.
Check it out again.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Just all the work that gets put into just that one part, but so vital.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Huge.
Yeah. Man. All right. We've got Two-Face playing Battleship. We've got Nigma's Claw Island hideout. And then storyboard of Arkham Asylum. And then a fantastic look at Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
This concept
Joe
art
Griffith.
that we love. Yeah.
Yeah. Joe was a great dude.
This looks like merchandising art for Gotham, maybe.
Yeah. I don't recognize it.
Yeah. And then we kind of just have a bunch of slides of different gadgets. I don't know if you were as involved with the gadgets this time around versus in Returns, but
no, this was all Chris Ross. So remember when I was talking to you about the Rocket Pack Penguins last week, and how Rick Heinrichs, we all had a hand in how we designed them. And well, Chris Ross ended up building the proof of concept harness and helmet and all that for the Rocket Pack Penguins. So he was a guy that was a model maker in effect shops back in the day. Here's his signature. But he was also, he could draw like a mother. And he was a good designer. He had, you know, experience at Art Center and all that. And so he was hired on here to do all the props. So he would design them by marker sketch, like you see here, and then he would build them. He'd build the proof of all of them. I've got one of his props in my. It's not here. It's in my office. Hopefully the artwork comes up. It's the one where Batman's underwater. This one. I own this prop.
There we go. Wow.
Oh wow.
I have this prop. He made me a copy. I don't have the on-camera one. He made me the exact copy of this one.
That's awesome.
This is one of my favorite props of all time. Look how cool that thing is.
For listeners, this is the grapnel, the sort of grapnel net thing that I think Batman uses to capture the Two-Face thugs underwater.
Right.
I believe, right? It's the net one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he would literally go from this marker sketch to then he would build. He would use cast material that you make casts out of and all that, and you know, lay all these up between that. And plus, he was doing it all in his office in the art department. So he's like drawing the shit, and then he would make it, and then it would go on camera. So he had all the molds there, and
Jesus.
anyway,
Oh,
so
wow.
I love this prop. I mean, I just think it's awesome. So yeah, this is
Fantastic.
Chris Ross. He did all this stuff.
Oh, props to Chris Ross on all this. These
I hired
are all
him
the
on
fantastic
Speed. I hired him
gadgets.
on Speed Racer when Johnny Depp was going to be Speed Racer, and he was like, "Tim,
Wow.
I don't do cars." And I'm like, "Chris, you're a genius. You can.
You can
I
do
need
anything.
you to do all the interiors." And he designed the interior of the Mach 5, and yeah,
Mhm.
this is
That's
all
cool.
his shit.
Jeez. No, these are all great on this. We sort of love the different aspects of the variety of different gadgets that we get to see in these films too. You know,
It's crazy. Look at all that.
yeah,
See the amount of work.
seriously.
Mm-hmm.
See Two
I
Faces.
remember all the stuff. Yeah.
So we kind of wanted to end on something that today was the day of this recording is when we premiered the previous episode on Batman Returns, and I know when we first started before we hit record that you haven't had a chance to check it out yet. But one thing I thought would be good to share to you, because it's rare for us to get a guest to come back the very next week right after the premiere and stuff to get to see some of the comments on this. But I really wanted to share these to you because of the fact that we know that a lot of times the overall look and the design, a lot of times that just gets credited to Schumacher or gets credited to Burton, or then to another extent to Barbara Ling or Bo Welch, and there are a lot of people who are fans who really like to study this stuff too, and are aware of just how much work is done and all the people who are part of it. So I thought I would share some of the comments to you. We usually do the fan comments afterwards, but in this particular episode, we're going to do it now. So here we go. So Oliver Emerald says, Tim Flattery designed our childhood. Batman Returns, Forever, Turbo Man. I saw his name in end credits of Power Rangers 1995 movie, and many, many more. Looking forward to this. And then Evan Zaramba commented below, I like the way he designed the Val Kilmer Batmobile. He's amazing.
I gotta say, since there's a mention of Turbo Man there,
Yes.
I didn't know you had done Turbo Man before I started doing my cursory research for this for the first episode. That was a heavy hitter of the 90s in our generation, man. Like that was
man.
one of the most popular toys probably that year too, right? When they sold the actual one. Do you remember the sales figures at all on that?
And the Tomy has come out with sorry. It has done a resurgence in the last 3 years. That's huge, but they've come out with this whole line of these guys. Brian Levant, the director, he and I had a phone conversation last year, and he said, "Do you know these are coming out now?" And he goes, "You gotta check it out." And so Brian and I collect all this stuff. So I'm sorry to get a sidetrack, but boy, there's some stories on Jingle All the Way that are some good ones. I was connected to Arnold's hip for 4 months after I designed Turbo Man, and Bob Kurtzman built it, because I was responsible for getting the suit on and off him, making him look good, and just being on set every day with them. And we'll talk about that another time. There's some great stories with Jingle All the Way and Arnold Schwarzenegger, like really great stories.
That was a big one. Like I'm pretty sure everybody my age saw that and then half the people that saw it bought the Turbo Man that year also. So yeah, that's cool.
It's big. I still, like, once a week I get an email from somebody wanting
really
a signed copy of my final rendering of Turbo Man. Like,
wow.
It's I don't know what's happened in the last however many years, but Jingle All the Way has got this cult following that wasn't there before, and it's come on like a freight train all of a sudden, which I'm really glad about.
I mean, I think a lot of it is because the kids who grew up with it are now adults, and we still have the love for it. And so we now are like, hey, why don't we seek out, the guy who designed Turbo Man or the guy who designed the Batmobile, like all that type of stuff.
And that was those were fun days. Definitely fun days. The industry is much different now, and it's fun to, like, hey, we want to do this campy superhero, and oh, by the way, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Can you design and build the suit? And
well, I know you said that you had turned down Batman and Robin for Jingle All the Way, and I think we can all agree you made the right choice.
Yeah, you did. You did. Totally. Yeah, that's true. Must have been tough turning down Batman, but But yeah, I get it. After hearing your story, you had a
Mhm.
death threat on you. It sounded like.
Not really. It was definitely like my career was on the line.
Your
That
career,
was
okay.
made clear. You know, it was like, it's on you, kid. You want this, it's on you. So that was definitely a strong message for
Yeah.
sure.
By the way, I
Okay.
did want to show real quick. I did grow up with this kind of. I don't know who did it. I'm trying to do it in better
Oh,
lighting on it, but it is a chromium print of the Batmobile in front of the Gotham City. Don't know who did it. I don't have a credit on the back on it, but
that's super
anyway,
cool.
yeah.
Mhm.
I for some reason that's familiar to me, Ben, but I've never seen that in person. I'll have to check that out.
I'll see if I
Oh,
can
wow.
find a link to send to you on that.
Okay.
But continuing the comments here, we got Evan
Oh,
Zaramba
there's more.
again, being that Tim Flattery is a great concept artist, great man. Logan Wood, one of our Patreon patrons, says, living legend, this guy.
Jeez.
And then on Instagram, one of our followers, Dark Matter Incorp, says, huge fan of Flattery. Truly the GOAT, what he does. So much iconic work.
Wow. That's
So, wanted to share that to you.
well, thanks for sharing. I don't know what to say. I mean, that's
Mm.
much appreciated. And like I say, just to know that we, you know, like we can have this dialogue and talk about the things that we talk about, even the designs that didn't make it and how they resonate with you.
Mhm.
Like, whoa, man, it's just like that gives me, you know, it's like, yeah, I did what I meant to do, you know, and like somebody gets it, you know.
Mhm. No,
So
totally.
I appreciate it in those comments. You know, thank you all. That means a lot to me. You know, we're like you said, Ben. A lot of times we're the guys in the dark room off to the side, concept designers, and not all the time do we get credit for the work that we do or recognized, you know, the way that we should. Even though there's lots of making of books of our art in there and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that means a lot. Appreciate it.
Of course. Now, you've been involved in several superhero movies. We have not quite gotten to the Marvel Cinematic Universe yet, and I'm sure there's other ones that you did too that aren't even in that continuity. But we'd love to bring you back on for any of those. Talk Marvel as much as you
Yeah.
can without incurring the wrath of Kevin Feige and Marvel snipers at that point. But any of that type of stuff.
You guys are aware of that. Yeah, Marvel doesn't mess around, that's for sure.
Yeah, so maybe some.
But yeah, no, happy. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can't talk about Black Panther or Wakanda Forever, but now that Thor's out or any of the other ones that I've worked on, because they've been out, and certainly can talk. Maybe not as great of a most of that stuff because now I work from home. The stories aren't there like they are from the other days, but like, especially like something like Jingle All the Way. You know,
Okay.
Gotcha.
where it's from
Man.
concept and then 4 months on set. Where
Mhm.
with so anyway, yeah, anytime to give me a holler. This is like I said to you originally. This is like the first time I heard you guys. Like these guys get it big time. And I was when I first was listening to it, I wanted to jump through the screen and tell you some of these stories. And so I'm glad that I'm glad I got the opportunity to share them with you because I know you guys are coming from the right place.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on and for everything that you've done.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. And with
All
that,
right, guys.
that is superhero stuff you should know.
Thanks again for having me.
Big thanks to Dan for bringing up the visuals for the YouTube experience with us and Tim. And just as a quick post-credits scene, this has been going around the internet. It is the burnt Christopher Walken head from Batman Returns. I don't know who this guy is who's holding it up. Maybe I should have asked Tim on that. But it looks pretty fucked up. Amazing. So we
It's
got
cool.
that. And then as basically a reply, we did address one of the comments actually from last time from, I might be butchering the name, Kendarius Dupree Art, who commented about the Batmobile, saying that one of the concept art Batmobiles we were looking over was a toy. He actually sent us the toy itself, pictures of the toy. It looks like it is the Total Destruction Batmobile. There's still some differences, but that does look closer than the one that we were able to find. So that's pretty cool. You can check out Kendarius at Kendarius Dupree Art as the Instagram handle, I believe. And since we
Nice.
already did the fan comments, over to the shout outs.
Oh man, so quick this time. So yeah, I want to thank everybody up on the board, plus some of our more recent people that have joined, which would include Chris F, Meta Geek, Chuck ATWT, Chris R, and Chris M, and our other supporters as well. Also up on the board. Thank you again, everybody. Can't do the show without you. And then please, if you want to get up on the board, you want to join that $1 tier at patreon.com/superhero stuff pod. That gets you the shout out on the board. And then the $5 tier gets you the shout out plus a whole other show. This show was every Monday, but we have a whole other show every Friday behind the paywall, the $5 tier. And yeah, check that out. Cancel anytime. And just we have over 120 episodes there behind the paywall. So there that is. And then we also have the $10 tier, which is our monthly meetup show. Join us in a Zoom like call once a month to talk together with listeners and to talk about a topic at hand and things like that. So yeah, that's the $10 tier. Please check that out. We have Superhero Stuff merch. That's superhousepod.redbubble.com and superherostuffpod.threadless.com. Get all of our merch. The Ben Man, Indeed Wizard, and Zacula. If you remember that Zacula guy. Artwork by Stefan Santa Cruz. And then please send us some audio to superhousepodcast@gmail.com. Can be anything. Send us something, please. I'm Thunderwolf Drew on Instagram and Twitter. Thunderwolf lives on YouTube. ThunderwolfDrew.com has my whole portfolio except for AmanoRecon.com. That is AMANORECON.com. Things still happening. We're actually finishing up this the cut. We have like a final cut of this, but we're going to more than likely, hopefully, fingers crossed, get into a couple film fests. We're going to the plan is to submit to 3. That's our number. We're going to see what happens with 3. Horror Film Fest, October's coming up as of this recording. So anyway, what it is R-rated Power Rangers meets X-Files meets Ash versus the Evil Dead kind of horror comedy, and Stranger Things as well. It's a big one. Mix it all together, and you got yourself Amano Recon. This poster is by Zachary Jackson Brown. Go to ZacharyJacksonBrownArt.com. Is it? That's his website. Man, awesome poster, dude. I would buy this even if it wasn't my movie. So anyway, other one. We don't have the graphic, I don't think just yet. Maybe you have it, Ben. I don't know. I probably should have seen it.
This one.
There we go. Look at that. The guy, man. Look at the Batman preparation. Gaming Gaiden is a new limited series podcast that I'm doing on the side. We're going to do it in seasons. If you've seen the Ranking Superman video games episode, there was a guy there called Mike, and Mike, he was a guest there, but he's a co-host on this one. This is every episode's an interview, and in this first season, it is mainly Japanese to English translators for video games. If you know anything about that super niche world, we got some heavy hitters in that world, and that's coming in the fall. I don't know the exact date yet, but we've recorded almost all of this first season already. This is another thing I wanted to do with Gaming Gaiden. I wanted to record the whole thing, then release it. So that's what's happening with this. And yeah, if you like, video games, Japanese, we're going to talk about culture as well, like Japanese cultural type of things. Kind of bigger ideas. Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine, if you guys remember that. And yeah, basically that's it. So that's it for me, Ben.
Awesome. Shout out to Comic Capital on Instagram, as well as the Everything Entertainment Club on Clubhouse. You can follow us on social media, of course, at Twitter at SuperhousePod, Instagram, Superhero Stuff Pod, TikTok, I know what I'm looking at this time, Superhero Stuff Pod.
I posted a new one, by the way.
Okay.
I posted a little Venom video. I read the Donny Cates run. I read the
nice.
entire Donny Cates Venom run. So I posted something about that on our TikTok. So
Our TikTok is one of the few ones that I do not really do much curating on
yeah,
because I'm just
that's
not on TikTok in general.
it's on the
So,
side.
yeah,
We said that last time. I was like, I'll do a little something, and
yeah,
Venom
there
was
we
in
are.
my heart. So
Sweet.
we got like 300 views on it. So it was like, cool.
Nice, nice. And then
Yeah.
on Vero, Superhero Stuff Pod, we pretty much post the same stuff there as on Instagram and
Oh
trying to
yeah.
get Snyder's attention when I can think of something that
Yes.
not everyone else is going to be asking him.
Yes.
And then my website is benwanrider.com, where you can read my Gotham script, Gotham Vampire, where young Bruce faces off against the Mad Monk, as well as my spec script, Elementary, The Death of Sherlock Holmes, a modern update on the classic story, The Adventure of the Dying Detective, and Curb Your Enthusiasm, Disneyland, the Curb episode they could never make, where Larry David goes to Disneyland. My YouTube channel is in the description below, where you can also check out Doctor Who, The Ronin of Time, where I write, narrate, and edit the Eighth Doctor meeting Miyamoto Musashi. My personal Instagram is Ben Juan Ryder. My cat's Instagram is Alfie Pennyworth Cat. And if you have an Alfie as well as a Peanut, who had a cameo earlier in this episode,
He's got a lot of cameos lately.
yes. He's a mainstay in this.
Yes.
He's vying for that co-host position.
He's always like, hey, what are you doing? You haven't
So,
paid me attention in the past 5 minutes.
if you have a Peanut as well as an Alfie or any type of cat, you can get the Whisker Box, the only cat box for the crazy cat lady and gent. I should probably mention we have a promo link for that. I'm not just saying that for shits and giggles. But we have something to help you out with the Whisker Box, and we also have something for
Oh yeah,
the Bark
we
Box.
do. We haven't honestly, we haven't checked in on them in a while, but we do have like some sort of deal with them.
At least we think we do.
No, we do. We do. We just. I gotta check in back with those guys.
Well, assuming that we still do, give your dog exactly what they want with the Bark Box. You can get the first month off, valued at $35 for free, using our promo link, and you can get that at superherostuffpod.com/shop, where you can get all sorts of stuff, including the book that's full of concept art containing stuff by Tim Flattery at that's the Batman, the Definitive History of the Dark Knight in Comics, Film, and Beyond by Andrew Farago and Gina McIntyre. So that's a giant ass book that Andrew is now holding. And if you try to basically, if you try to read that when you're on the toilet, your thighs will lose circulation. So
Yeah,
be
that's
careful,
right.
guys.
That's what I said. Be careful about the toilet book situation.
Yes, indeed. And then let's not forget Manscaped. Yes, that is a real promo that we have in the middle. It is not a joke. Manscaped, we have a real promo code, everybody. Get 20% off plus free shipping by using the promo code Johnson's Ballsack at manscaped.com. You don't even need to use it for the platinum package for your platinum package. You can use it for any type of package you want on there, platinum or otherwise. So check that out. Get any sort of grooming product. It could just be deodorant. It doesn't even have to be any sort of razor. They have all sorts of shit on there. So check it out, manscaped.com. Use our promo code Johnson's Ballsack.
I mean, if you want a shiny sack, you gotta use that code Johnson's Ballsack.
Indeed.
No apostrophe, no space, just all one word. Johnson's Ballsack. That's the promo code at checkout. 20% off, free shipping. What a great deal, right? That's like a lot off. That's like, that could be like, well, whatever that, it could be $100 off, however much you buy. Like if it's whatever that 20% is, I mean, shit.
Somebody's really hairy down there is like, oh man, I need all of this.
Yes. Use
that code, man.
Yes, if you want to make your dick seem bigger.
Emphasis on seam.
You gotta, take care down there. So there it is, everybody.
Indeed.
Manscaped.
Mm-hmm.
And man, we want you to do us a favor.
We want you to tell all your friends about it.